So why do we tend to patterns that are not good for us? Is it low self-esteem, familiarity, environment? Are we masochistic? Glutton for pain? I have gone around with with that stuff through different circumstances just throughout my life, whether it is within an intimate relationship to friendship or collegiate, professional. No, all the answers that I said, they apply. I'm not masochistic. I'm not a person that's into letting somebody hurt me. No. But for some people, there are people out like that, and to each his own. The sadomasochistic line of thinking. Okay, that does not apply to me. For me, it has more just been patterns. And I've been looking a lot at patterns. Also, quickly, I wanted to thank the gentleman who sent me the lovely compliment. I'm not going to say your name. You know who you are if you watch my videos or whatever. Thank you. If you're 50 years old, it makes me feel good. So I appreciate. Very kind of you. So now I digress back to the patterns, and I guess what got me thinking about this is I've been talking with somebody trying to resolve some issues that have arose, and finding that, many times the patterns are not necessarily within the self. Sometimes it's within other people or another person. And, our job is to find out why do we gravitate toward other like-minded people that possess these kind of characteristics, whether it is abusive or, lying, infidelity, abuse, whatever. And for me personally, I told this person, I said, this goes back a long way, because even in childhood, I didn't grow up exactly with I didn't have a normal childhood, quote unquote, but I had long let that go, and I had let that go for myself. Not people think oh, I'm never gonna forgive because whatever, this person's accountable and blah 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 blah, when the truth is, forgiveness to me, what it means is setting yourself free of the resentments and living your life better, free of that. So, forgiveness has a double-edged sword. And yeah, it can also mean that, the other person's off the hook. It depends on what they've done and, what you forgave. And people forgive at different levels depending on what the thing is that they're forgiving. So, but I had 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, I had forgiven, from my childhood, and I have found a sense of freedom that comes with that, that you just can't put a price tag on. You just can't, and it has improved the quality of my life overall, because who wants to live their life filled with, all these horrible things happen to me. Poor me, and The truth of it is, I mean, bad things happen to good people all the time. Bad, good things happen to bad people all the time. Life is life, and it can be great, and it can be euphoric, and then it could turn around and straight out spit in your face and leave you standing there baffled, bewildered, with like, now what? So I mean, that's life. Life, at the end of the day, to me, is about choices, and these patterns that I mention is, I'm looking at patterns in relationships that I've had on every level. I'm not talking about just like intimate relationships. I'm talking across the board. There were a lot of things where I never drew boundaries. I was more the people pleaser and always yes, yes, yes. When really it was like, why should I take on this responsibility? This is not my responsibility. It's okay to give, but it's not okay to be taken advantage of for being giving, so it's boundaries, and that is something, that, I mean, in many ways, I've come leaps and bounds compared to, like, let's say adolescence, where, I was out people pleasing, my hair had to be done a certain way, makeup, had to have a tan, all the superficial things that come with adolescence and wanting to fit in, trying to obtain that acceptance, where when you get into your 40s and 50s, it's, basically who you are, you're kind of set in your ways, what your boundary, you have an idea of what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate, and what you want out of life, or what you're hoping to obtain out of life, and if you haven't yet already obtained it, if you're in the process of obtaining, so, I mean, I've talked about, I published 3 books, and, 2 of them were in the making for a long time. And the one was something that I just did on the fly, and shabam, and one of those already sold, and I'm like, yes, go. It's, what is the word there? It's a very nice feeling. It's very rewarding to know, that all this work, I put in has paid off. That, yes, 65% of what I have on Kindle has sold. So that's exterior, but that's something that I've been doing since age 12. And of course, as you get older, your writing style, I don't care what type of artist you are, and I've said this in previous videos also, that, you grow. Whether you're a musician, writers, painter, it doesn't matter. But I digress, back to these patterns that I wanted to talk about, whether it's patterns of being a people pleaser, patterns of where you're compromising self-respect or self-esteem. People take advantage, and then when you start to set boundaries, then you see true colors in other people, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you changing? Well, I'm changing, as you call it. It's a thing, it's a process called opening my eyes to what is really going on. And the change for me is for the better. It might not be for the better for you as the recipient, because that means I'm not going to be saying yes to things that I may not necessarily be comfortable saying yes to. Or things that I may have not been comfortable saying yes to, but was because of how I felt for you. Well, now the true test comes, because it's like, well, how much do you care about me? Do you respect my boundaries? And, so that's always been a big thing for me. I've always been the kind of person to go out of my way, minus, when I was caught up in addiction, okay? And everybody has their dark moments where they were caught up in something that was self-serving and neglected somebody, something important along the way. We are all guilty of it. So, I'm not pointing my finger to anybody, because there's going to always be three pointing right back. So it's like, to point fingers is one of those things that you just don't do. Don't do, because everybody comes with a story. Everybody comes with and there's a backstory behind everybody's initial story. So, I mean, but I'm really, patterns of settling into just, oh, this is my role, and let myself be taken for granted for it and all this stuff is like, no. Everything I do is because I want to do, and I've done out of love or caring, or just maybe a selfless thing, to do, to make somebody else feel better. No expectation, all well and good. It's always good to give unconditionally. There's an internal reward that comes with that that's priceless, Some people don't know how to do that. There are people out there who expect something in return every time. And those kind of people, I try to just simply keep out of my life. And, I've crossed paths with them in life, and I just keep them at very, very long. I feed them with a very, very long handled spoon, and that's what they could stay. I'm in my space, and I have my own life to live, and at the end of the day, in terms of the patterns that I'm trying to work through, are patterns that only I can change. Only me. Nobody can, jump in there and say, yeah, I'm doing this for her. And, I wish, but no, that's about being responsible and accountable for your own choices. And, but it gets frustrating when, people try to question or manipulate you into reverting back to something that is not healthy for yourself. It's like, how dare you, so, that's where I'm at, and I just felt like sharing, so here it is. And, maybe to make you think, the viewer, whoever, and hopefully you like it's just a semi-perm color that I put in my hair because the weather's so nice. So I thought, let me have some fun, with some colors. So, take care, be safe, Again, check my stories out on Kindle under Crystal Waters, Krystal Waters. 3 new releases